If not, that's okay. Hey everybody, welcome
the
to...
notification.
Yes, I do. Thank you, John. Do appreciate that. No. Hey everybody, welcome to Riding the Pine. This is kind of a weird RTP live that we're doing today. I've got it's Lou, of course, Joel, and John.
I think we're
and
on.
we
If not,
are.
that's
okay. Hey everybody, welcome
the
to.
notification.
Yes, I do. Thank you, John. Okay, we are stopping for just one
that.
second. No. Because, hey everybody, welcome to Riding the Pine. This is kind of a weird RTP live that we're doing today. I've got it's Lou, of course. Sorry about that, guys. All that went weird. Just for the first 30 seconds of this video, just kill it over. I'm sorry. I had all that bullshit going on in the background. That was the video playing over itself. Sorry. Start over. Blah, 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 blah. Welcome to RTP Live. This is Lou, along with Joel and John. The boys are back, and we kind of lied to you. We said that we were going to be back on our regular schedule, and you know what? Don't judge us, okay? We don't answer to you people, okay? We answer to ourselves. That's it. No, guys, we're back. We've got a handful of things that we wanted to talk about today. Guys, how are y'all?
Doing well, man. Excited about this card tonight. It's going to be a good weekend of sports.
I'm doing great.
It's you know, and before we move on, and I'm sorry for kind of fucking this flow of this up, guys. We all kind of agreed there was something that we wanted to talk about before we move into the show. And you know, we wanted to talk about, I know you people come here to listen to us talk about sports and to fuck around with y'all and talk about sports, but there are other things that happen in the world, things that happen this week that could possibly change the history of our species, of our planet, not just our country or you and me, but everyone on this planet and everyone who will come to be eventually. And I think we just have to take a little bit of time to talk about it, and that is the UFC 205 presser that happened on Thursday afternoon. Guys, our species will never be the same. Man, I really let up. I really ramped up there. Everybody thought the Trump talk was coming. They really did. They thought it was Trump talk time.
I'd like to thank you for explaining your comedy after performing your comedy, Lou.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
That was one of the greatest press conferences of all time. It will go down, and I will never be the same.
I think the best way to explain that entire presser is to just say hashtag bounce it off his fucking head.
Well enunciated, John.
Here's my thing with here's my thing with the presser is and the thing that I wonder is, are we to a point now in the UFC where we are more excited to see what Conor McGregor is going to do on the mic and on the stage than we are when he actually gets into the octagon? Are we more impressed by him before the fight than during the fight at this point?
I'm almost there, honestly, because it's starting to feel to me like this is like, okay, so there was a period during that press conference where Dana was specifically asked, was that staged? Now, he didn't answer the question, and I think it was because he didn't hear it. But some of that is so over the top, you almost wonder if there's not a little bit of kayfabe going on.
I don't know. I think he on the Dana White thing, I think he did actually hear that, and he just decided he was just going to laugh it off and see if he could. He just went, ha. And then
that does create a little bit more drama, doesn't it?
Exactly.
I mean, obviously, there's a certain level of showmanship to it. Conor knows what he's doing. He's out there. He's trying to sell the fight, which I guarantee going WWE like he did, he definitely sold at least another 10,000 buys. So yeah, there's a certain level of kayfabe to it, especially, I mean, the thing that really pulls the curtain back and lets you know that there's an act to it is, what do him and Nate Diaz do as soon as, you know, they go the distance in their second fight after beating the shit out of each other for 25 minutes. The first thing they do is hug each other, and when they get on the mic, oh, I want to thank Nate for being the best opponent ever, blah, blah, blah. No, you just said you were going to ruin the guy's fucking face, which, that's a tall order. You can't really ruin Nate Diaz's face any more than it already has been, so...
I think Eddie Alvarez was ready to be able to do that, shake hands and let it be done at the end of the night, right up until that presser when he said, I'm not going to get an apology from you, it's done. This fucking fight's going to be nuclear, man.
What was the highlight? I mean, God, that's the thing. We had so many different things. You've got Conor tries to pick up a chair and throw it like a wrestler. He takes Eddie's belt. He shows up half an hour late wearing a goddamn kilt suit. I mean, what happened in this thing?
And
this thing
mink,
was a
by the
nightmare.
way, too.
And
Gucci
mink.
Mink.
He was driving 2 Rolls Royce around New York City, one for each belt, gentlemen. This is balling on a level we've never seen before.
No, we haven't. We haven't seen this from Conor. Like, we haven't seen this from anybody. Here's my thing is you know, and we're going to get into predictions afterwards. Conor takes this belt. Conor takes Eddie Alvarez's belt tonight. Dana has said pretty explicitly he will have to give up the featherweight title, which, you know, give your opinions on it, whether you think he should or not. He's probably never going to fight in featherweight ever again. It's too hard for him to cut down to get down there at this point, to get down to 145. I don't see Conor giving that belt up. I think he's going to tell Dana, come take it, but he's not going to give that belt up. That will never, ever be in Dana's possession ever again. I think he can buy it from him.
He says he's going to army up, and then they're going to bring their army, and we'll see what happens. I don't think you'll see him at 145 anymore, but I don't. Dana's not going to take that thing before he wins this belt. He wants that piece of history for Conor just as much as Conor does.
Oh, yeah. And he said Conor can have 2 belts for up to 24 hours. In 24 hours, he'll have to surrender it.
Exactly.
If that does turn out to be the case, that's going to be the greatest 24 hours in the history of UFC. In the history of MMA, that'll be the greatest 24 hours ever.
And possibly Snapchat and Instagram and all the rest too.
Yeah. Well, what's equally interesting is he's talking about what he's going to do about maybe going after welterweight, and is talking all kinds of shit to Tyron Woodley. So
that's the thing.
Here we go, Conor fucking McGregor.
That's the
Woodley
thing.
Did not like that.
And I texted that to y'all. Yeah, how they bump into each other and stare each other down in the hallway, and Conor makes some kind of comment along the lines of something like he's 12 pounds overweight, referring to the belt. Just Conor, dude, I wonder if the guy really is just an unhinged maniac at this point. And like, you know, John said, he said kayfabe. We know that it's an act. We know that he's trying to sell pay-per-views. It's so goddamn convincing that me as a 30-year-old man, I'm buying into it like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. I'm buying into it and saying this guy might actually just be an unhinged psychopath at this point.
And you're well-trained and looking for that because you're a WWE fan.
Yeah, I'm a wrestling guy.
Right. So Sean makes a good point in the comments here. He says, if Conor wanted to throw the chair, he could have thrown the chair. It's all for show. Yeah. Clearly, some of that's for show, and here's why. Dana's big man didn't come out until after all that happened. Right. So Dana wants this. And I love it. I think it's great because you know what the difference is? The kayfabe and all that stuff in wrestling is fun, and it's what drove the WWF when it was the WWF and turned it into what it is today. Having some of that in fighting as well, I think is great because you know once those guys step into the ring, it isn't fake anymore. Those guys are beating the fuck out of each other, and this one's going nuclear. I've said it twice. I'll say it probably 4 more times. This fight is going fucking nuclear, and I love it.
Well, I'll be interested to hear your pick on that then. But we talked about it a little bit before, guys. I think Conor won the mental battle again against Eddie Alvarez. Not just last night, but this whole time. The only thing, there was the weird couple comments about Eddie accusing Conor of having a kid with somebody other than his wife. And I don't think, even the crowd didn't really like that one.
No.
But it was just awkward. Like, if he had come in strong on that with some swagger, maybe. But it was weird throwing that out. And then the part you mentioned where he's asking Conor for an apology. That just seemed really weak in that moment. Like, okay, we're done, man.
And he just softballs everything to Conor. So to go back to it, I'll read it here. So what he says is I'm giving Conor an opportunity right now. And granted, you people have to hear this. We're not going to play it because you know it's copyrighted material of somebody else's. But just go watch it. I mean, the fact that you haven't watched it and you're here is fucking crazy. Go watch it. The entire audience is booing everything Alvarez is saying. So he's having to speak up so that people can hear what he's saying so he can talk over the crowd. And he says I'm going to give Conor a chance. Here, let me pull it up right here. I'm giving Conor a chance right now to apologize. He brought my wife and children into this when he said that he was going to mess my face up. They wouldn't recognize me. I'm giving him a chance right now to apologize. Conor then replies, put my big Irish balls on her chin.
I mean, come on. In a sport like this, where you've got testosterone versus testosterone, that almost feels like the only response Conor could give
Dude, Eddie, don't. He already brought your wife and kids into it. Don't you then bring them back into it? Because the dude, like John said, like Joel said, he's the undefeated. He is the reigning, undisputed heavyweight champion of trash talking. He will make you look stupid. He can get out there. He doesn't even give concise insults sometimes. He's just so goddamn charismatic. He'll make you look stupid. Like back at the 197 presser when Donald Cerrone started saying, "Man, sit your little ass down, you little toothpick," or whatever he was saying to him, and Conor's only comeback is "Yeehaw!" That's all he says to him, and the audience goes crazy. He's just so goddamn charismatic. He could call you a jar of mayonnaise, and it would get over. The audience would go crazy. It just, oh man, guys. I mean, I don't see this is and we can talk about the Impact being back in Madison Square Garden, being back in New York. I think that Alvarez is from bell to bell going to be booed out of the Garden. Correct?
Oh yes, and here's the issue. I'll go ahead, Joel, and I'll give you my pick right now.
Oh, okay.
Eddie Alvarez is going to lose this fight because he is on complete and total 100% tilt. He is so tilted right now. There's no coming back from it. I mean, the way that he handled that entire presser, including the walking off the stage thing, which I think he thought was going to work the same way that Conor McGregor showing up late would, but it just made him look even worse. And he's so on tilt. I don't see there being any way that he's going to get mentally back into this fight.
All right, so you're saying Eddie's losing. You got a round?
Yeah, give us a round. Give us a scenario. Is it going to go the distance? Is it going what?
I'll give it 3 rounds because the guy's a damn good fighter. I'll give it 3 rounds. I don't think it's going into the championship rounds.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not as bad yet, but Eddie's showing the same kind of signs that Aldo did going into the fight with McGregor. It stole your point, Lou.
No, I totally agree. You're absolutely right. I agree fully, 100%.
So what happened with Aldo in that fight? If you guys remember, if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
13 seconds.
Yes. So,
13, yeah, 13.
So Aldo's
13.
so fucking juiced up from just anger at Conor McGregor from all of this back and forth during camp. He's so angry. And he comes launching at McGregor, the most accurate striker in the UFC.
And left his entire chin open.
With that left hook.
Just left his entire left side of his face open because he just had to reach.
Absolutely. John, I totally agree. If Eddie just comes charging at McGregor like Aldo did, he's going to go down maybe quickly. I don't know about 13 seconds.
13.
First round for sure.
See, and Eddie even called him out on that, and it didn't get over.
Yeah.
I don't even know. This guy can't even count. What is 13? What is that?
Man, people love the Irish accent.
Oh, yeah.
It's undisputable.
Why Jacksepticeye's so popular.
Another weird part, though, was like in the beginning of the press conference, he was trying to sympathize with the guys. He's like, "Oh, well, I'm half Irish."
Yeah.
You know, he's talking about I'm half Irish, so why you guys got this guy as your representative? He won't even show up. And then later on, he's like, "Oh, I want to silence the country of Ireland." Like, make up your fucking mind, Eddie.
Yeah. I agree entirely. In fact, the way I played it out with the guys who I'll be watching the fight tonight, we do a pool where we score points and everything on predictions. My prediction is first round. I think that I'm saying it's going to be a Jose Aldo situation. It's going to be exactly that, Joel. I'm saying it's going to be a Jose Aldo round 2 situation. Where what's going to happen, round 1 is going to be each other feeling each other out, and then at the very end of the round, I can see Conor just trying to go for that knockout early, just trying, as he said in the past, I don't get paid by the hour, so he's gonna try and go on a flurry there at the end. He's probably going to clock Eddie, like you said. He's the most accurate striker in the game. He's going to get him frustrated. He's going to get him going. Eddie's going to have the crowd, just completely going nuts for Conor at the end of the round and chant no lay. And I think he's going to come out in the second round, possibly bloodied, so he's possibly got impaired vision and frustrated, and he's going to lunge. And in 13 seconds into the second round, I see Conor taking him down with a TKO. I see a Jose Aldo just 5 minutes later, is what I'm calling.
Yeah, I would be really surprised if this fight went the distance. I mean, if it does, you might give the edge to Eddie a little bit in there because Conor has the tendency to gas out towards the end of those rounds. But Eddie's in most danger in that first and second round. So I think we're all on point there.
Which, speaking of gassing him, I mean, obviously that was the story for everybody who remembers Diaz, Diaz and McGregor. When Conor goes up to he never even made it to 170. He goes up to 168 in both fights to take on Diaz. And what was the story of the fight? Round 1 comes out and he clocks. I mean, I think it was in the first fight he landed 17 body and head shots to Diaz. I mean, it looks like from a layman's standpoint, and even from our standpoint, holy shit, McGregor is going to destroy him in this fight. What did he do? He's not strong enough. He punches like a lightweight. He doesn't punch like a welterweight. So what does he do? Which, like, any of us could fucking tell if he was hitting us, right? But he doesn't punch at the level that Diaz is used to. Diaz just sat there and took it and let Conor just gas himself out in the middle of the second round.
Yeah, I will disagree with you to one point, though, is he's a Diaz, man, and those guys take a shot better than a lot of people in MMA.
He's concussion-proof. His brain can't... His brain cavity is so large, his brain can't actually make it to the front of his skull to then be concussed. Totally agree with you. I get that, yes. That was the worst possible opponent for Conor. But that's what it was. He gassed himself out. If this goes the distance... Eddie is the lightweight champion for a reason. He's been fighting here at 155 this long for a reason. Conor, I mean, granted, Conor's probably actually usually fighting at 155 anyways after he cuts for 145. He's close to 155 anyways.
Yeah.
But absolutely, we've seen it from Conor when he's gone out of featherweight over the past, year. When we've seen him leave featherweight, he's gassed himself out if it goes past the third round. That's what we could see here. That's the only chance that Alvarez has is if he keeps distance and he lets Conor tire himself out in the first 3 rounds. I think that's the only chance he's got.
I think Eddie Alvarez turns this into a Donald Trump-like win by taking it to the championship rounds. I agree with you on that, definitely.
And one way he might do that, just be on the lookout. He might try to take Conor down. I mean, other guys have. Chad Mendes had really good success taking him down and had Conor in trouble at featherweight. That was one of the only times he was ever in trouble at featherweight. Was when Mendes got him down. Eddie's not on that level of wrestling, but he's pretty damn good. Although McGregor's improved way beyond what he was back then. So
and here's one thing. I got into a conversation with somebody last night. Here's one thing that somebody brought up is I think we all clearly agree the featherweight division is dead at this point. Conor fucking killed it. He destroyed it. When we were all waiting for him and Aldo to come up, and in 13 seconds it was over, and he completely fucked. Hell, we don't know if Aldo's ever going to be in UFC again. There's all this bullshit going on between him and Dana. Do you guys have any kind of fear that, God damn it, Conor's going to fuck up lightweight too because he's so goddamn good? Do you have that fear at all that he could fuck this division up too?
No.
It's significantly
go ahead,
deeper than featherweight, right?
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
No, my point was going to be quick, and it was exactly Lou's. It's a much deeper field.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's... Yeah. Even look on this card. You got a preliminary fight with Khabib that's a tough word to say. Nurmagomedov and Michael Johnson. I mean, that's like I think they're number like 3 and 4 in the lightweight rankings. Khabib might even be number 2 actually. But so even on the same card, you've got 2 beast dudes that could carry that division, and there's a few other you can rattle off there too.
Well, and basically we're looking at that fight to whoever takes that earlier in the night is going to be in line for Conor's. I mean, the eventual lightweight champion's belt here in a little while. I mean, that's clearly the next fight you have to have. That's clearly what you've got to put together for 208 or 209, right?
Sure. Especially if it's, I mean, Michael Johnson should get that shot too, but Khabib has earned that shot. That guy's a beast. Nobody wants that. And I don't. What did you guys buy into the McGregor going back up to 170 thing against Woodley?
So to give everybody an idea, this is something that we kind of all, when we saw it, we freaked out about yesterday. But what happened was we touched on it briefly. Is at the weigh-ins yesterday, apparently Woodley and McGregor bumped into one another in the coming around a corner. They bumped into each other. Somebody was able to film it and stared each other down for about 15-20 seconds. Woodley was not intimidated by Conor. At least he didn't show it whatsoever, and was not
Nor
happy.
does he need to be.
Yeah, nor does he need to be. Which, by the way, and that's another thing we talked about it. How great was it seeing Dana White pick up Conor? Just come here, you little bastard, and just pick his ass up and just one arm and throw him back. That was fantastic. But he and Woodley got into an exchange, guys. I mean, look, Conor is not he's not going back up to welterweight again, right? That's not in the cards for him, is it?
No, not against those guys. Nate Diaz wasn't a legit welterweight.
Right.
Nate Diaz fights at 155. He always has. So he's that tall, skinny body type. They're a totally different dude at welterweight. You don't want that, Conor. Please.
Tyron Woodley's quote was perfect. We punch at a very different power up here. Pack a lunch.
Yeah.
Because he would need to. Because I'm telling you, 13 seconds would be every fight he walked into. He would get hit once. Those guys hit so hard. And those are guys that are 40 pounds lighter than me. Those guys hit 10 times harder than I could ever hope to.
Yeah, these guys also have reaches that are a good 3 inches further than his. Yeah. So, I mean, that's another thing. He'll never get close to him.
And let me tell you, if he was going to, let's say he wins this Alvarez fight, he's got the lightweight belt, wants to go get the welterweight, okay? I don't even think he's going to be fighting Woodley. So let's get to this next fight.
Whoa, he's not going to be fighting Woodley. So is that John's prediction? Is that Joel's prediction that Tyron Woodley will retain against Wonderboy?
No. I think Wonderboy is going to take the welterweight belt, and if Conor wants to go up to welterweight, he's going to have to fight Wonderboy.
Wow. Okay, so let's get into this. Joel.
Yeah.
Going against the grain, going against Vegas right now, saying that Stephen Thompson is going to come in and is going to beat Tyron Woodley. The floor is yours, Joel. Go ahead.
Absolutely. For you guys, if you haven't seen this guy fight, I just called Conor McGregor the most accurate striker in MMA, with a caveat that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is the best striker in MMA right now. It's unquestionable. And Tyron Woodley in the press conference mentioned he brought in some weird guys into his camp to try to train for this dude. You cannot train for this guy. There is nobody that has the front leg side kick dexterity. He's got this weird switching up style. There's nobody like this guy anywhere.
Yeah. One of the best kickboxers in the world. Yeah.
I was just going to say, he's 57-0 as a professional kickboxer. Ooh. And it was a little bit different. You know, he was wearing like karate pants, and I think they had, almost Muay Thai style gloves. So it's kind of point karate, and that's why you see him like bouncing in and out all the time. It's weird how great he's molded into the MMA game. If you watch his fight against Johnny Hendricks, he just picked him apart. Johnny didn't see that shit coming. Oh. And he's got these weird kicks where he can throw, a quick jab, and all of a sudden he's got this roundhouse kick sliding up over your shoulder that you don't see coming.
So I am so looking forward to this fight, Joe.
Yes. Personally, guys, Joel, this is the fight of the night for me, honestly. I mean, Conor and Eddie, yes, that's the main event. That's the draw. This is the fight of the night for me.
Yeah.
So if you...
He's easily one of my top three fighters. Go ahead, John.
If you look over my shoulder over here, you see a bunch of belts hanging on the wall.
Yeah.
I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. So when I see guys come into the UFC that are technical like that with the traditional martial arts, I love watching it. I love seeing that.
Real quick then, we were talking about the featherweight division being dead. There is one guy, I mentioned him when we were talking about this off air, Yair Rodriguez. Watch out for this dude. He's unbelievable. And John, you need to watch some of his fights because he's a Taekwondo master. This guy throws spinning wheel kicks like it's a fucking jab. It's crazy.
Man.
One thing that and you had mentioned that we had gone back to the featherweight division. The one fight that I'm fearing will eventually happen, and I don't think that it happens. It's not something that happens in the next year or two. And in the next year and a half, it could happen. Sage Northcutt going up the rankings right now against Conor McGregor. I don't make me choose like this, guys. Don't make me choose. No, I would not want to. I would not want to have to see that one. But again, that's just kind of that's just kind of the depth that we're talking about. We don't just have depth. If you look at the featherweight division, the top guys, they're older. Well, older. They're in their 30s, guys. Whereas in the lightweight division, we've got these guys that are in their 20s. What is Sage Northcutt? 21 years old? Is he even 22 yet?
I think
he's not 21. He just turned 20.
It's
just
20.
turned 20. We have got such a good amount of depth here in the lightweight division. This is going to be what the light heavyweight division was 2 years ago. Or 3 years ago when Jones was out there just murdering everybody. That's what we're going to see. Or when Silva was doing it years ago. That's what we're going to see. I think you're going to see the lightweight division is going to be what the light heavyweight was. In this fight, look, this is going to take on the same exact... I mean, you could not have a better clash of styles when you're looking at Woodley and you're looking at Wonderboy. You know, Woodley is a traditional boxing wrestler, whereas as Wonderboy is a kickboxer. That's where he started. He did not train for MMA. He trained to be a kickboxer. He was just so physically gifted, he was able to mold it into it. Whereas Tyron Woodley started as a wrestler, moved that naturally into MMA. This is going to be a match where if it goes further, if it goes on, obviously guys who have a better ground game, you can use gravity to your advantage later on in the match. If a guy is tired and isn't able to get you off of him, that's where Woodley is going to have an advantage, is if we get into the later rounds. If we get into the championship rounds with this, if we get into the 4th and 5th round, I've got to say that slider is going to slide heavy in Woodley's favor.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. And Wonderboy's takedown defense has gotten a lot better. He's a pretty decent jiu-jitsu practitioner. So I think
but Tyron Woodley is the best wrestler in the best wrestler in UFC today.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm not even questioning. And I say that just to say that I could see Stephen Thompson being able to get out and get up, you know, a few times early in the rounds. But I agree with you. The later it goes, the harder it's going to be to try to buck that guy off of him. Wonderboy's got to keep this thing at distance and keep it on the feet for sure.
John, what do you have in this one?
Takedowns with his knees.
Where do you see this one going, John?
The Woodley Wonderboy fight?
Yeah, Woodley Wonderboy. What's your prediction?
My prediction, honestly, is exactly the same as yours. So it would be silly of me to repeat it.
Okay. late round submission by Woodley. What about you, Joel?
Me, I'm thinking TKO for Wonderboy in round number 3.
Okay. Well,
that's where I go with it.
He's going to have to work fast. In my opinion, he's going to have to work faster than that, because Woodley will go all night long with him. So he'll go on the ground with him all night. So that's not a problem.
Yeah,
Joel,
go ahead, man.
I apologize. I feel like I keep cutting you off. We have a quick question though. You're getting called out in the chat by Sean here. He wants to know. He says, "Did you just say that Wonderboy is only decent at jiu-jitsu?" Wow.
Yeah, decent. I mean, you're gonna call me bullshit on this. He's got a brother-in-law or father-in-law who's a jiu-jitsu black belt, and Wonderboy, I believe, has a black belt in Japanese jiu-jitsu, but he is not a prolific BJJ fighter. Okay. He's just not. He's got enough to get back up, but he knows where his bread's buttered. He's not going to spend any time on the ground. That's just not his game.
Yeah, and Sean also asked, I'm sorry, I had the chat closed. He asked earlier, he said, so you guys don't think there's any chance of Eddie Alvarez taking Conor to the ground and getting him that way? I think we all said that's the only way, that's his end game. That's his Florida, Pennsylvania, Michigan. Okay, that's his road to the White House, is by getting him on the ground in a later round. So that's what he's going to have to do. Yeah. Do I think it happens? No. But that's clearly his path to victory.
And let me bring up, he mentioned it in the press conference about this plan that him and Mark Henry have been working on. And Mark Henry's a fantastic coach. And I loved the bit where Conor McGregor's giving him shit for only being there for 2 weeks. What happened to the Black Zillions? You said they were the best.
Yeah, they were the best ever.
Yeah, they were the best ever, and now you're with this guy, and he's the best ever. That was brilliant. But
why's Conor got 2 coaches? Why's Conor got 2 coaches?
So
shut the fuck up, man. That was bad.
I'm sure that Mark Henry's probably telling him to take it down. But I mean, Conor knows what time it is. Like, he knows that's the game plan against him almost every time he goes out. And like I said, his takedown defense just keeps getting better and better.
And here's another thing, as far as guarding against the takedown, I mean, look at what Conor, and I'm sorry guys to bounce back into the main event again, but take a look at what Conor did against Diaz in the second fight. What did he do? He went after him with those shin kicks and took away his base. That's what Conor is going to do. Watch for that early. Watch early in the fight. If this thing is going to go past the 13th second in the second round, you're going to see Conor going for those shin strikes again to take that away from Alvarez, for taking that ground game away from him and being able to take that and get that leverage off of him. The third championship fight that we have is Joanna Jedrzejczyk, my favorite female fighter in the world. I call her the Polish pile driver. I don't know why this hasn't caught on. I don't know why it's not a thing. Going up against fellow countryman, I don't know how you call it whenever it's women. Karolina, and I don't even try.
Kowalkiewicz. And let me get you, I'll help a brother out on that first one too. It's Joanna Jedrzejczyk.
Well,
it's like Krzyzewski. It's some weird shit over there.
And that's not how Joe Rogan says it. And Joe Rogan just plows through all of these names. It's great. What he does, whenever you can tell he can't say someone's name, he just starts talking louder. He just
calls her Joanna.
Yeah, that's what people call her. Yeah, it's Joanna and Karolina. That's
exactly.
That's what this fight is. We absolutely had a great moment. Obviously, there's not a great amount of trash talking that goes on between these two. You know, they speak acceptable English, but not at the same level that a Conor would. Both come out, and it was during the face-off at the end of the press conference. Not a whole lot of the press conference was, if you watch the 35 minutes of the press conference, 32 minutes of it worth were questions for Conor and Eddie. So Joanna and Karolina come out, and Joanna does that, head, forward, like, I'm going to, intimidate you kind of thing. And she clocks Karolina right in the nose when she does it. I mean, she hits her with a headbutt right there in the right square in her nose. And Dana at the time didn't have his hands between them. He wasn't doing this thing, had to separate them. And I guess there's a mic next to him or something, because you can hear him talking to a security guard. And he goes, "Oh, I fucked up. That was my bad. That's on me. I screwed that up. That's all on me." And then a few minutes later, when Conor and Eddie come out, he's sitting here and he's got his hands up, and Conor says, "Oh, put your hands down. I'm not going to touch him," or whatever he said. He goes, No, I fucked up with Joanna. I can't have that happen again. You guys aren't going to touch one another." So it was nice seeing Dana White admit some fault. Probably the first and last time you will ever see that.
Yeah, absolutely. This fight I'm really interested in too, because these two chicks are unbelievable strikers. Joanna is one of the most technical ones in the UFC, if you're starting to go pound for pound and all that kind of stuff. And Karolina is no joke, man. She is a tough girl. So there's going to be some blood, and it's going to be nuts, man. And Joanna, Dana should have seen this coming too, because those of us that watch The Ultimate Fighter, the season with Joanna and Claudia Gadelha, they got in a fight on the show.
Yeah.
So she's not going to fuck around, especially when she has a chance to try to rattle somebody.
No, she's a mean lady. I would never fuck with this girl ever. I mean, and that's what's so funny is because if you follow her on Twitter and stuff, she's always talking about like playing Pokemon and stuff. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is a fairly easygoing person. And then she goes out there and headbutts somebody during a pose off. God damn. The thing about Joanna, if you watch her matches, it is painful to watch her matches because, she's fighting in the featherweight division and she goes out there where you don't have you don't have a tremendous amount of knockouts in this division. Most fights in this division are going the distance and they're decided by decision at the judges table. She will go out there and she will, to close distance on somebody and get to them, she will take 2 shots to the face. She will take a combination to the face. As you can tell from the way her nose looks, it's been broken a handful of times. She will sacrifice her face to get in and close distance on somebody and work their body. It is painful to watch her fights because she has zero regard for her face or her body at all.
Yeah, I totally agree. She's some people have nicknamed her the Polish Zombie. I think that nickname's already been taken, but she will just kind of walk straight into it just to get into the distance, like you said, to get some shots off. Because if she gets in the elbow range or whatever else. But the other reason it is painful, like you said, is because even she's an unbelievable striker, but she's not knocking people out, and she's just tearing people's faces up. that's almost where it comes into play, where it's almost better when people get knocked out in MMA. It's almost less damage. But
John,
yeah, I definitely see some blood going in this fight.
Let me ask you guys this, Joel and John. Here's something, because a lot of people in the women's division, clearly, I mean, the women's bantamweight division for a time was, and I don't think anybody would argue with us, the bantamweight division was the hottest division in all of MMA, thanks in large part to the rivalries between Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey, but primarily just Ronda Rousey. She was the one who was carrying that. She's the one who carried that division, and quite frankly was making UFC a household name to a lot of people over the last 3 years. Why is it that with the awesome streak that we've seen Joanna on, she's now 12-0 in the MMA. Is she third for 1, 2? Oh no, okay, no, she is tied second for successful title defenses behind Rousey. Why don't we see the same amount of press and coverage around her, the same level of popularity that we saw with Ronda? Is it strictly a looks thing? Is it strictly a looks and marketing thing?
Yeah, I mean, that has something to do with it. And she didn't win in the same, like, exciting, surprising fashion as Ronda did. You know, all of these really quick submissions, and she's hip-tossing bitches over, you know. She just won it a different way, and America loves an American hero, you know, and Ronda could talk the talk, too. Okay. I mean, let me say that. Before Conor McGregor, we had Ronda Rousey in there talking shit, talking about I'm not a do-nothing bitch and stuff like that, you know. So she definitely was a lot more marketable.
There's a second piece to that talk the talk. Her accent is so thick, it's difficult to get a lot of press from her.
Sure.
Yeah. You think?
For an American audience, anyway.
Sure.
Yeah, you're right. That could have something to do with it, and I've thought about that in the past. I you know, obviously looks aren't going to hurt whenever you can have a good-looking woman go out there and be in a Calvin Klein ad naked with a, you know, pair of boxing gloves being the only thing that's covering her or something like that. Yeah, that I get that, but I mean from a just pure athleticism standpoint, I don't think that. I'll put it this way. Ronda couldn't go the distance the way, or at least we don't think that she could, because we haven't seen her go the distance the way we have with Joanna. I don't think she could keep up with these girls. There's no fucking way.
No.
No, I mean, obviously not in their weight class. I'm just saying, if, like, for example, when she's in 2 months, when she's going up against Nunes, if Nunes takes this thing deep, man, I don't see any way Ronda's going to be able to do that if she lets her get out of the second round.
I'll tell you, and we can spend a second on this because that's a crazy fight coming up. People are not ready for this. They're going to be hyping Ronda, but coming back so hard. People do not know how dangerous Amanda Nunes is. I mean, if you watch that fight with Miesha Tate, she picked her apart with power, man. She is scary.
It was over from the first combo. It was over from the first combination 15 seconds in.
And Miesha Tate is tough as fuck. That girl can take a punch. So for Amanda Nunes to just dismantle her like that, I was extremely impressed. And Ronda better be preparing for that shit because it's coming.
How many commercials, how many promo packages of Ronda saying, I'm back, and I'm here to prove myself, and I'm here to take what's mine, and I'm here to gain back and show everyone I'm still the best. How many of those video packages will we see tonight? I at least 4. At least 4 of those.
We will see all of them.
All of them.
All of them ever.
We will see every single one of them.
But I'm telling you, man, she fucking better be ready. She really better be ready because
Nunes is no joke, man. Nunes is no joke. She is a mean motherfucker. So what do we have in this one, guys? I've got Joanna retaining, going the distance, all 5, and retaining by decision.
Yeah, that's where I see it going to. I think she gets a close decision there.
I'll defer to you guys on this one. I don't know enough about either fighter to make a call.
Gotcha. We do have now on the card also, and here's what's amazing about this card with 205. I think when we all saw this thing come out, when we saw this super card that was 205 get announced about 3 months ago, actually it was the night of 202. That's what it was. When we saw Diaz and McGregor's rematch, and we saw the card that came out, we all said, "Oh, they fucked up. They accidentally combined the last 4 pay-per-views of the year, and they accidentally just showed them all at one time." Or I think we all said, you know what, coming off of the what do you want to call it? The depression that was UFC 200. While it was still a great show, it just let us down so bad with everything that happened right before it. I think we all expected at least like 2 fighters to get tested for PEDs, 1 to get injured, and like 3 to die of cancer or something before this card started tonight. And all we've lost was Evans and I'm sorry.
Cowboy.
Cowboy. Yeah, that's right. Cerrone and Rashad Evans is the only thing that we lost. And, I mean, Cowboy Cerrone, I love the guy, but, I mean, fuck, you can see him fight every other month on Fight Night or on UFC on Fox anyways. So, I mean, I don't need to see him on pay-per-view right now. It's not that big of a deal. You feel bad for the guy losing a payday, sure. But from a card standpoint, you don't need to see it. You mentioned it earlier before we got on the air, John. On the prelim, the main event to the prelim, the Fox Sports 1 prelims, we're going to have Frankie Edgar and Jeremy Stevens. That's a prelim fight.
Yeah.
Dude, that's good enough to be a fight night main event there.
Agreed.
I'm so looking forward to that fight. It's like 2 fucking Wolverines just clawing the shit out of each other. I can't
wait. Now,
the
prelims start at 7, right?
7 Eastern, yes.
7
Eastern, yeah.
I mean, the prelims
on the Fight Pass ones, yes. On the first round of prelims, yes.
And I am upset about missing the Cowboy Kevin Gastelum fight. I love watching Cowboy fight. He's been on a tear lately. He looks so good at welterweight. And for Kevin Gastelum to not fucking make weight, and that's the reason we're losing this fight, man, come on. For the other fight, like Rashad Evans and Tim Kennedy, that's a throwback fight. It would have been cool to see, but like you're not bumming me out too bad. The rest of this card is unbelievable.
I mean,
it'd have been fun to see Rashad Evans do the stank leg.
for me with Rashad Evans, it was a you know what it was? It was going to be a feels moment. It was going to be sort of like, I mean, obviously it was a surprise when Silva came out there, but nobody was expecting Silva and DC to be a great match or an all-time classic or something. It actually sort of turned in the last 15 seconds. It might have turned into one with what we saw with Silva being able to get a couple of shots in. But Evans at this point, I mean, he's a Mark Hunt at this point. You know, he's just a guy who's just been beaten and battered his whole life, and he's just kind of there. Now. You know what he is? He's a bigger Uriah Faber at this point. I think is a really good way to put it, because he's been a part of the mix for forever, and he's got name recognition. But he's Dan Henderson. He's a Hendo. That's what he is. He's a bigger Hendo.
You named 3 of my all-time favorite fighters.
No. Damn you, Lou. Don't put him with Hendo. God damn it, Lou. Hendo is like, man, he's put himself...
Okay, you know what? If Hendo stuck around for another year and got embarrassed for another year, that's what he would... I'm saying, say Hendo stuck around for another year and lost 3 more fights.
I got screwed up by the legacies, man. I just couldn't do it in my head, so I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I got you, yeah.
What do you guys... Now, we did mention Miesha Tate earlier. We've got Miesha Tate and Raquel going up against one another. Raquel Pennington. I mean, Miesha Tate, heavy favorite in this one.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see Tate come out there and be pissed as shit opening up the card. The last time we saw her was getting embarrassed by Nunes. We're going to see promotions all night. Hell, the ring pads, the actual octagon pads, half of them are going to be for 206, are going to be for DC and, I'm sorry.
Rumble?
And Rumble, yeah. We're going to see Rumble Jackson and DC on half the pads, and the other half the pads are going to be Nunes and Rousey. So she's gonna see 4 pictures of Rousey around her. They're gonna play 15 fucking Rousey packages tonight, and they're gonna play 15 Nunes packages tonight, and they're going to show her tapping out. They're gonna show Miesha Tate tapping out probably 10 times on this telecast. She's gonna be pissed and out there ready. If I'm Raquel Pennington, I'm guarding my face all night long, because this bitch is going to claw my eyes out.
Lou, you said this fight opens the main card, right?
Yes.
What a better freaking match to light this night off with.
Yeah.
Holy shit. She's going to explode all over. I mean, it's going to be a first round reckoning. I don't even think this fight is going to go a minute.
John, John went ahead and kicked it off. I completely agree. This is going to be a first round opening the card knockout. That she is TKO rather, not a knockout, but this is going to be a first minute TKO.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. I'll back off on the 1 minute, I appreciate you guys' confidence there. I'll keep it in the first round though, and I think Cupcake takes her down, gets her in the mount, and then just waylays her till the ref stops it. So yeah, I see Misha by TKO.
Yeah, it's going to be TKO. They're going to stop it. Is there anything else that you guys are looking at before we move on to a couple of things going on in the NFL and college football that that you wanted to see on the prelims that you're really excited about?
Well, it's not a prelim, but I would be remiss not to mention Weidman and
Sure.
Romero, Yoel. Yoel is a fucking beast wrestler, and Weidman is one of the best grapplers on the planet right now. Make no mistake about it. So to see those guys go at it, Weidman's the former champion. Yoel's been hungry for a long time. These dudes are going to be ridiculous to watch. They might just grind each other out doing Greco-Roman wrestling for a while. But because I don't know who's going to have the edge in this.
Well, if it does get to that and it does go later into a wrestling match, I mean, you've got to think that Weidman. I mean, he's got 8 years on the guy, 8 years younger. I mean, you've got to think that Weidman is going to have an advantage the deeper this goes and is going to be in better condition.
Yeah, I'm down for a good Greco match. I just hope that it doesn't turn into a lay and pray.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
and see that's what's going to end up happening is if Yoel gets the advantage in this thing, because you've got to consider also Weidman has got 4 inches on the dude and is not going to want to be standing up with this guy and is not going to. I mean, granted they're both Greco trained. He's got 4.5 inches on him on his reach. They are not going to want to have to get into. They're not going to want to stay upright. So, or rather, Yoel is not going to want to stay upright. He's going to get Weidman on the ground. And John, that's kind of why I think this is going to be a blah match, because I think that's what it's going to turn into. Or that's Yoel's best shot, I guess, is the right way to put it. Yeah,
I mean, unfortunately, right now, the grappling still hasn't caught on for a lot of fans, even in the UFC. I mean, you mentioned the DC Anderson Silva fight earlier, and yes, the deal was there that everybody knew Anderson Silva was most dangerous on his feet, but every time they took it to the ground,
he blocked him. He blocked that's what's incredible.
And he blocked all those fights. Yeah,
everything that he was doing. It was incredible. Yeah. I mean, at 57,000 years old, Silva still looked incredible out there on defense. It was great. You know, I do have to say though, and I said this back at 202, how I felt bad about oh God, who was it? Was it Miocic and Overeem? That's right. Yeah. Oh, he tapped out, and that's when Rogan said he was going to stop interviewing people after a knockout. I felt bad for those guys because they announced this card immediately after that one. I was like, oh, they just stole all their thunder. I feel so bad right now because I love DC and I love Rumble. To see those guys have to, because there's a lot of people who don't buy every pay-per-view. They buy maybe 3 a year. And so, oh, wow, Cormier is going to be defending against oh, wait, Rousey's coming back? Nah, fuck that. All right, I'll wait until December to buy another pay-per-view. So I feel really bad for those guys because you know they're going to lose some points from the more casual fans.
Well, if I remember right how the flow of things was going, because John Jones really screwed all of this up by getting popped for the boner pill,
for the wiener pill
he was taking. There you go. So what originally I think what the plan was going to be was for DC to fight Rumble on this card in Madison Square Garden, which could you imagine this fucking card with those guys on there as well? So yeah, I'm excited to see that fight, I guess, but unfortunately DC, he's just, I don't know why he's not as likable from the fans' perspective. I don't know if he's too nice. I don't know if he's just not, that swagger dude that the fans love, like a Conor McGregor or one of these dudes. I mean, that's why a lot of people again are don't know Chris Weidman, and they're like the Tim Duncans of their sport.
They're bland.
Yeah.
Which by the way, UFC, please stop putting Cormier. I mean, he looks good in a suit, but stop putting him on commentary. I mean, my God. He is so bad doing pre and post fight commentary, and it's not the things that he says. He's not like Kurt Schilling, where Kurt Schilling just says stupid shit. He has good things to say. You know what I would love if Cormier had a blog? I'd read it every day. I'd read it every single day if he had a blog. But just having to listening to him to talk out there about what we thought when we got down on the ground. God, it's hard to listen to, man.
He's a cliche machine, too, so that kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Oh, he shot himself in the foot, and, you live to fight another day. Yeah, exactly. He says all of those idioms constantly.
My favorite guys to do that kind of commentary, like Dominic Cruz was great.
Yeah.
And damn it, middleweight champion right now, Michael Bisping, was great with Dominic
Bisping's
Cruz
great. Oh,
when
yeah.
they were going after it. And then Boss Rutan is another great one.
If UFC was on HBO late at night and we could get away with anything, I'd love to have Nate Diaz. Man, he fucking knocked his ass out, a little pussy. He got him. I think Nate Diaz would be great.
Though, I think the worst ever was when Frank Mir tried to do it for a while.
Oh man,
my God. I don't really remember that. Was that terrible?
Poor guy. Frank's taken one too many shots to the head, my man.
Has he?
He's kind of in rough shape.
Every time he spoke, it sounded like something was rattling through the middle of a watermelon. It was just
yeah. You know who never really caught on too much with the fans from a commentary standpoint or from a pre and post game standpoint. I'll still say it. I still love Liddell. I still love Chuck Liddell going out there. I mean, I mean that was a decade ago, so he's not really in vogue, if you will, anymore to trot him out there. Like Cormier, I get it. You're bringing, the light heavyweight champion out there. Totally get it. He's got a shitload of credibility. He knows what he's talking about. He's got good quality things to say. I always thought Iceman was all right. I thought he was okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, but a lot of people didn't. A lot of people didn't like him. So.
Well, I think part of that's from the gruff look. I mean, the guy's super intelligent. He does a great job on camera.
Yeah, and
he's got recognizability.
Yeah.
Even though it was, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago when he was at his prime time, people still recognize that face and know, oh, that's the UFC guy.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't realize this. Dom was actually conceived to a Chuck Liddell fight. So.
Shout out to Dom.
Hashtag Donald Trump. Good win, buddy.
Yeah. Way to wrap up the country.
I gotta know, how does Lou Salini feel about Donald Trump's win? I gotta know this.
I really don't want to talk about politics on this show. That's come on, man. That's not what we want to do.
I didn't say Donald Trump's win. I said Donald Trump's win. He's in the chat now, by the way. He just showed up in chat.
Oh, well, go away. I don't know. I wasn't prepared for that one. So guys, one of the things that we sort of talked about very briefly last week, moving on to so UFC 205, it's going to be incredible. Guys, we don't work for UFC. Go fucking buy it. It's $60 and you will not regret it. I guarantee you it will be the best UFC card. If you've never watched a UFC card and you've been waiting for one to start on, this is the one to start on. This is
absolutely.
I do not care how much you drink at whatever party you're at tonight, Lou. We will be on chat talking the fuck out of this fight.
Oh yeah, we will. Oh yeah, and I mean this for me, this will be an Uber night for sure. Getting home from this one, guys. So one of the things that's gone on in the NFL that has been an ongoing story all year, of course, is Dak Prescott continuing to not light it up statistically, but continuing to do what he needs to, taking care of the football, playing smart football. The trade deadline passed a week ago, and we briefly mentioned it on last week's show that we thought that Jerry Jones needed to be in a home because he did not find a place for Tony Romo. Tony Romo now, it is being put on Jason Garrett. We were hearing in the beginning of the year Jerry Jones saying this is Tony's team, and when he's ready to come back, he will be the starter. Well, Jerry's kind of backpedaled on that a little bit, and now he's saying, well, look, he's fully healthy. It's whenever Jason Garrett's ready to put him in the game. There's no way in hell Tony Romo plays another snap for the Dallas Cowboys this year, right? It's not happening, right?
It would be the worst move that I can think of in my lifetime in NFL bonehead plays. I'm almost speechless at the ridiculousness of the fact that he is still part of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, the fact that he wasn't traded away to, and we can talk about trade destinations or I want to know where you guys see him next year. The fact that he's still on the Cowboys, not even the comment that, it's whenever Jason Garrett wants to start him, that's when he'll start. The idea that he's even employed by the Cowboys is insane to me. Completely insane.
You ready for my prediction?
Yeah,
go ahead, John. Where do you see Tony Romo next year?
Romojets.
So you've got Romo to the Jets. So how does he get there? Does he get there by way of trade and Jerry sends some money? Does Jerry release him? How does he get there?
I think he gets there through a trade for probably a third-round draft pick and Ryan Fitzpatrick to be able to stand behind Dak Prescott and say, good job.
Why? See, I don't think the Cowboys would even want Fitzpatrick because Fitzpatrick is on a LeBron deal. He can walk away, or the team can walk away after this year. So I don't even know if he's a member of the team to be traded. I don't even know if that happens.
That's a great point. I didn't know that was the way his contract was structured, and if he can walk away from it at the end of the season, there's no reason he'd go to the Cowboys because he knows he's never going to get another starting position, or he's at least would never start there again. So really, I think it's a mid-level draft pick, maybe fourth or fifth round even, because Tony Romo still has 1 or 2 years in him, and there are still things that he can do for a team. But it's clear that he's done at the Cowboys. There's no reason to ever have him walk on the field again as a starting quarterback.
Yeah, I could see that going down, and I think the picks is the way that they could make that happen. I think the Jets would love to have a quarterback like that, and I think Romo would eat up New York City. Another team that probably not many people are thinking about here, though, what about Jacksonville with Tony Romo behind center? I mean, they've got a lot of pieces there. They've got Allen Robinson is a great wide receiver. I'm telling you.
Oh, the A team with Allen Hurns and Allen Robinson, absolutely, both of them.
Unbelievable. If they could have a halfway decent competent quarterback.
I think if they make a coach
garbage.
Oh, see, I disagree. I think if they make a change at head coach and get somebody in there that can work with Bortles a little better, I think Bortles honestly has a lot more potential than even a guy like Ryan Tannehill. And we've seen over the last 3 games with the Dolphins that you get better coaching in around you, and you can start to make stuff happen. So, and I really think that Bortles is still a work in progress and needs a better coach.
Yeah, well, I agree. That. I think it's a little too early for them to ditch Bortles. They've got too much invested in him with taking him as the number 2 overall pick. I just don't think that's realistic. I mean, do I think it would be an instant upgrade? Oh, for sure. I just don't think that it's realistic.
I'm sorry, I've got to read this because it made me laugh out loud. Rock Soldier just said the most association Jacksonville should have with Tony Romo is that they buy him a Jaguar XKR to stay the fuck away.
That's pretty good.
That is. I don't know. I just don't see there being any way that he winds up there. You know, a situation that I could see, and I agree, though, it is going to be an AFC team where Romo winds up. It's certainly not going to be a team in the NFC East or something like that, because each one of those teams already has a quarterback, and I think Jerry will want to get him out of the conference as best he can, so they won't see each other in the playoffs. I think the Jets is a really likely scenario for where he's going to land. I also could see the Browns. I could see the Browns in the sense that what else are they going to do? But at the same time, one of the things I've been harping on for the past little while about the Jets, and something that I've been going crazy about on this show, is why are you still trotting Fitzpatrick out there? You know what he is. You're not going to make the playoffs. It's time to put Bryce Petty. It's time to put Geno Smith, which he's now hurt, so take that out of the situation. Put Christian Hackenberg. Put these guys out there and find out if you've got something. Oh, you don't? They're absolute turds? Well, guess what? You've got a great crop of guys coming up this year who are coming out of the first round, or who are going to be going in the first round. Your Kaisers, your Kayas, your Dobbs, not Kellys anymore. Chad Kelly may not be a first-round pick now. Probably wasn't going to be anyways, but probably not a day 1 pick at this point with the injury. But regardless, you've got a handful of guys that are going to be coming out, and the Browns are going to be in position for one. What better situation could you have than going and getting Tony Romo, a guy who's hungry enough to still try, because he still wants to go out there and have a good legacy at the end of his career, a fairly decent wide receiver core that they have with the Browns, a fairly decent offensive line that they have, serviceable running backs. They're in a brutal division, I get that. But Tony Romo there, and they draft someone like Deshaun Kaiser and let him sit behind him for a year or two and let him learn the way Rodgers was able to from Favre. What do you think about that scenario?
Yeah, they've definitely got the ammunition to do it. I mean, Cleveland was my pick that they should have traded him to before the deadline. I thought they should have made that deal happen. And
Cleveland has plenty of picks right now that they were able to get from the Eagles.
The currency.
So They've definitely got
sure.
the currency to be able to trade away Romo and probably convince Jones to send some cash along with him to pick up some of that contract.
And I'll even one up you on the wide receiving core because I think Terrell Pryor is going to be really good.
Yeah.
He's looking like, he's going to be
totally overshadowing
Corey
Coleman right now.
Coleman, yeah, absolutely.
Totally overshadowing Coleman, which we did not see that happening.
And this year he doesn't look like it, but prior to me is reminding me of DeAndre Hopkins a lot. That same kind of body type. He can go up and snag the ball with power. I mean, the Titans were focusing on him in our game with him, and he shredded us. So then you've also got Barnidge at tight end, and they've got a pretty damn good receiving core, and Tony Romo can make them look a lot better.
The only NFC team that I could see him possibly going to, and I know this sounds insane, but it is a ready-made situation, not only from how the team is structured, and because the team would want him, but also from Tony wanting to go to a potential contender. We have seen the wheels fall off for the Vikings over the past 3 weeks. We have seen the wheels fall off. People have figured out Sam Bradford. They know that he's not very good. He's serviceable is what he's been. He's been serviceable at best. He's been a hindrance now for the past 3 weeks. We don't know if Teddy Bridgewater is ever going to be the same guy again, which even if he is the same guy, he wasn't that fucking good anyways. I could really see this. I could see them making a play because, like you said, you want to have an older guy, like John said, hey, have a Ryan Fitzpatrick who comes in and who's going to be able to sit behind Dak and teach him a couple of things. Sam Bradford's been around the league. He's played for a handful of different teams. He can teach this kid a couple of things about how to handle this, how to handle that. They've got Mark Sanchez doing it right now. They could make that trade, bring in Sam Bradford. The Vikings have a couple of picks available that they were able to pick up through their, or rather, some of them got let go because of the Eagles trade, but they're going to be able to make some moves this year, and they don't have a whole lot of holes on their team to fill except that quarterback position. If it's going to be an NFC team, I think the Vikings would be one of those teams who would make a move for him.
Could you imagine Dallas burning itself to the ground if Tony Romo went to Minnesota and won a fucking Super Bowl up there?
Well, I don't think they're going to care that much considering they're going to win a Super Bowl in the state of Texas this year. They're going to win in Houston against the Patriots. You heard it here first, people.
Oh, shit.
Dak Prescott upsets Tom Brady. You heard it here first.
I'll say
I like that pick.
Actually, no, you heard it from Skip over the course of the past, 15 weeks is where you heard it first.
I could see him going to Minnesota. I mean, the fit's right, and you make a lot of good points there. But for the same reason you guys kind of defended Bortles in Jacksonville, I'll defend Teddy Bridgewater in Minnesota. I think those, especially the coaching staff and those players, believe in Bridgewater even after this injury. I mean, he is a mobile guy, but he really wasn't using his wheels a lot. He was just trying to stand back there and make good decisions with the football. So I don't think they're ready to give up on him just yet. And yeah, like you said, Sam Bradford has been Sam Bradford.
Right. He is what we thought he was going to be. He is what we thought he was going to be. Now, here's the thing though, and I want to be sure that I'm being clear. When I'm talking about Bortles, I'm talking about from a financial and from from a financial and from an asset standpoint, what they did for him, taking the number 2 overall pick. They still owe him another $20 or $15 million worth. Teddy Bridgewater only had a $6 million contract, being the 32nd overall pick that year. So they don't have nearly, and he's only got $1.2 million guaranteed left on his deal. They don't owe him shit. They have zero ties tied to him. $1.2 million off the cap for dead money, which they wouldn't cut him. I'm not saying they would, but $1.2 million for a kid to ride your bench and potentially learn from. And hey, maybe he learns a great deal from Tony Romo over the course of the next 2 years, and then when Romo rides off into the sunset, Teddy Bridgewater's a whole lot better. I don't see a negative for the Vikings. The only negative that I see for the Cowboys is, well, we've got the advantage over the Vikings, and we can probably beat them in a head-to-head matchup in the playoffs, especially if we're at home. We're going to be able to beat them in a head-to-head. We give them Romo. Do we beat them in a head-to-head now? So that's the only that's the only thing that would keep, I think, that deal from happening, would be Jerry being smart enough. Okay, so it totally happens. He's going to the Vikings. He's going to the Vikings.
So
no, but not in reality. That's the only thing that would stop it, would be Jerry Jones having a momentary lapse of brilliance and saying, oh shit, wait, this is a bad deal for us in the playoffs. We shouldn't send this guy off to a team that we're going to have to go through to get to the Super Bowl.
So what about this, though? Let's say that your prediction holds true all the way. Dak Prescott stays the quarterback, and they go on to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Would Tony Romo retire after that? With all of these injuries that he's had, his back is fucked. His clavicles and everything else have been shattered multiple times. Would he just hang it up after this instead of going to another team?
You mean if he had a, oh, look, I got a participation trophy Super Bowl ring being the backup? Fuck no. He'll never wear that thing. He would be ashamed of that thing because it'll just be a reminder that, man, what could have been if I wouldn't have gone and tried to scramble and slide during the preseason, which, let's be real, I mean, he would have gotten hurt by week 3 anyways, so let's be real. I don't think Tony's going to do that. First of all, let's not forget this. He's owed a shitload of money on his deal, okay? He's got another $62 million coming his way, so dude wants to get paid, okay? So that's still there. So I don't see him going. And two, if he really was going to do that, they've got Kellen Moore, and they've got Mark Sanchez. They've got other quarterbacks on the team, and now he's coming back, and he's doing full practices with the second team, and apparently he's going to be active for the Steelers, it looks like, and he's going to be on the bench. He will be the backup, and Mark Sanchez will not be active as the third-string guy. I don't see, if Tony Romo had that mentality of, well, fuck it, I'll just hang it up if I get a participation trophy Super Bowl, he wouldn't be practicing right now. He'd be done, you know. I just don't see that he's done. I just don't see that his ego would allow him to be done like that.
Yeah, and Sean in the chat asked, who do the Bears have? I think the issue of trying to see Tony Romo going to the Bears is I don't think John Fox is going to go after a guy that old. No. He's pretty much dumped half the talent on that team for young guys.
Yeah,
so he's going after a young team.
John is perfectly. Well, Jay Cutler has no more guaranteed money after this year. So after this year, they can do whatever they want with Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler's gone after this year. He will be gone. Okay. He'll be dumped. He'll wind up like somewhere like, I don't know, say Carson Palmer hangs it up in Arizona, or maybe if Miami doesn't take Brad Kaya, maybe somebody comes out, like maybe Miami takes Myles Garrett or something like that, and they're going to need a new quarterback. They go get Jay Cutler and have him compete with, I don't know. I'm not sure where he winds up. My point is I don't see him going to the Bears, because the whole scenario that I laid out there was Tony knows he's at the end of his career, wants to get a Super Bowl ring, wants to do well in the playoffs. He goes to the Bears so he can win 5 games best. I mean, he's not going to do anything at the Bears. So that's why I don't see that as a spot, Sean.
You just mentioned it, though. What if Carson Palmer hangs it up? Could you see Tony Romo going to Arizona? That would make them a really interesting team because that defense is nasty. And then even if Larry Fitzgerald hangs it up after this year, they've still got wide receiver talent there.
Yeah,
like David Johnson's unbelievable.
Again, well, here's the thing. Because that team is so talented, and because Jerry is, like I said, he is prone to once or twice a year having a moment of brilliance, he will probably want to keep Tony out of the NFC. He'll probably want to keep him out of the conference and keep him away from a team that they'll see in the playoffs. So they're gonna make the Cardinals give up something fierce to get him. And Bruce Arians isn't that kind of guy. He's not gonna let his pieces that he has developed, you know, his diamonds in the rough that he has found. He's not gonna let those guys go. So I don't think that the Cardinals would play Jerry's game. Is my issue. It'd be now. Say they were in a position where it was Jay Cutler, where it was Romo who had no more guaranteed money and he was going to get let go. Oh shit, wide open all day long. I mean, there's 50 different scenarios that I could see happening. But for a trade situation, the only NFC team I could see happening would be the Vikings. That'd be the only one that could happen, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
I dig.
What guys, one of the other things that we were looking at were our picks for the week. I know we've kind of fallen off on this, and we've had our Skip Bayless ridiculous picks of the week. Obviously, we had our Thursday night game this past week, which I forgot. Guys, I watched Aliens instead of this game, okay?
I noticed.
I was watching John Carpenter's 1986 classic follow-up to Ridley Scott's 1978 Alien. I watched Aliens instead of watching this game because of how atrocious this was. Who the hell is the starting quarterback for the Browns? Is it Cody Kessler? Is it Josh McCown? What the hell? Ugh.
It was Kessler, but I seem to remember him getting hurt in that game.
Did he get hurt or what?
Up?
Yeah,
I think he left that game. I'm not sure, but that tells you how interesting that game was.
Here's what's so bad: the way ESPN lists stats on their quick view is they list whoever the bet, like they'll say quarterback, passing, rushing, receiving, and they'll have for each team who the leader was. Cody Kessler went out 3 minutes into the second quarter and still had better stats than Josh McCown playing the rest of the game while the Ravens were ahead, so they were passing the entire time. That's how piss poor. That's how piss poor Josh McCown was. Guys, any games this week in the NFL that you're looking forward to?
Well, I'll tell you the one I'm looking forward to, and it's also my upset pick of the week. And I haven't picked them so far this year. Is my Titans
going against the Packers?
Green Bay Packers at home.
How much longer are we going to be able to say the Cowboys will beat the Packers in Lambeau, or who did they lose to last week? I can't remember when the squirrel was on the field and all that shit. Who beat them last week? God, who beat the Packers? Oh, the Colts. How much longer are we going to be able to say Team X, mediocre Team X will beat the Packers, and it be a whoa kind of moment? Because we talked about how the Vikings are in a tailspin. So are the Packers right now. So
absolutely.
I don't know how stupid. Right now, that sounds like, oh, that's kind of a ballsy pick. In 3 weeks, we might look back and say, oh, hey, Joel, big man, picking against the Packers. Way to go. You going to go beat up some Make-A-Wish kids while you're at it?
It sounds ballsy just because it's the Titans, and I'm the only one that's ever confident in the Titans. So I think it's still a pretty big deal there. But I totally agree with you. I think you mentioned Lambeau in the playoffs. My point there was going to be I don't see them even getting close to the playoffs this year. If you look at their remaining schedule, man, it looks like they're going to be sinking, and it's not looking good for Aaron Rodgers and the Pack this year.
They have the third highest strength of schedule left in the NFL.
Yeah, man. And
getting through that NFC North,
they're going to handle it.
That NFC North is the SEC of the NFL. It's just so difficult to get through that thing. John, what's your crazy, wacky, fun pick of the week?
I don't know if I have a crazy, wacky, fun pick of the week because I think most of these games feel like they're fairly ho-hum and are kind of easy to figure out. But I think the one that's going to be the most interesting to watch is Seattle, New England. And the reason is Seattle's defense and the way that they've sort of come together over the last few weeks after kind of a rough early start, and Tom Brady coming back in after 4 weeks of sitting, him getting to come back and throw against these guys again. I am very much looking forward to Richard Sherman hopefully maybe having a ACL pop or something.
Woo! Cheering for injuries on this show, John. We will not stand for that. We only cheer for injuries when we're watching UFC fights, sir. Do not do that.
Lou, give your pick, and then let's dive into that Sherman bit for a little bit.
Here's my pick of the week, and it's not necessarily a pick as to who's going to win, because you can be a little bit fun with your crazy Skip Bayless pick of the week. My crazy Skip Bayless pick of the week is that the Broncos at the Saints, we will eclipse 90 points in this game. We will get to 90 points. You can run on this Broncos defense right now. This Broncos interior line is giving up 120 rushing yards a game right now and 2 touchdowns on the ground. You saw it with the Raiders. Derek Carr didn't. When you saw that Raiders game, when you saw the final score, everybody said, oh, Crabtree and Amari Cooper went off, right? No, they both had like 3 catches for 40 yards. Yeah. It was that ground game led by Latavius Murray of the Raiders that went off. With the Saints, you've got 2 legitimate, with Hightower and Ingram, you've got 2 legitimate running backs back there. You've got pretty much what we all thought Trevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman was going to be this year. You've got the best 1-2 punch in football. I think the Saints are going to ground and pound and then go over the top. The Broncos are going to be in a position where they're going to have to score and going to air it out. I think you might see 90 points in this game because we've seen Trevor Siemian can move the damn ball with Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas. John is going to have an excellent fantasy day this week.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that happening. That was going to be my reservation, though. Is I'm not sure if I've got Trevor Siemian and those guys putting up 45.
Hey, the Broncos are averaging,
we're splitting it down the middle. Let's say
the Broncos are averaging 28 points a game right now. So they're
for
going
yours to happen. For yours to happen, what I think you might need a few more from the Saints. So you might see something a little more along the lines of like 56-35 if we're going to hit that number.
I think the Saints are going to be able to score at will, and I think that the Broncos aren't going to have a tremendous problem. Plus, their defense has the ability to make points for them. Their defense and special teams has the ability to make points for them all day. I think you're going to see Trevor Siemian have the best day of his career. That Saints defense couldn't stop Alabama right now. They are so bad. They are so atrociously
Mississippi
bad.
State, but that's another story.
Well, yeah, we're watching that one right now. Man, really, if the Aggies don't drop 10 spots in the rankings this week after we're watching this, that's ugly. Alabama is hate fucking Mississippi State right now.
Yeah, that's just the routine every year, man. Hasn't changed.
Bulldogs are getting bulldogged right now. So. One of the things that we wanted to close the show out, actually, Joel and I were going to put together some kind of special, and we were going to have a big old deal about it because it looked like we were going to have a shitload of controversy going into the rest of the year. Now it's kind of it might be the most boring story in sports. Hey, way to program and put together a show, Lou. You're going to talk about something boring on your show. Good job. Hey, that'll bring in the viewers, right? Was going to be the college football playoff. Obviously, the biggest news, the biggest deal that happened, Texas A&M, a one-loss team, was at number 4. They were ranked in the college football playoff over Washington, who is undefeated in the Pac-12. That was the big talk. Of course, A&M, I don't know if it went to their head or if Dan Mullen sold his soul. They come out and A&M plays the worst game they've played in the past 2 years against Mississippi State, get blown out by Mississippi State in the first half, make a play at the end, but still couldn't get it together, lose to Mississippi State. Washington is now clearly in that 4 spot. Here's the thing. That was going to be our controversy for the rest of the year, was going to be what happens with that 4 spot, because I think we all agree Clemson ain't losing, Michigan ain't losing, and Bama ain't losing, and now that Washington is firmly there, they ain't losing. I think we've already got 4 weeks to go. We can go ahead and call the season. We don't need to watch the rest of the season. We know how it's going to play out.
I don't know, Lou. I could see Washington losing to USC, my man.
So that's the biggest game that we're watching right now. That is the last hurdle that they have, is tonight against USC. That is the ABC/ESPN. It's weird how they simulcast. It just depends on what you have in your package. Game of the week tonight at 9 o'clock will be that USC game.
And Washington fans are going to be pissed off for me, expecting not
or 6:30. Excuse me, Fox. Sorry, but
thinking they can lose that game because they have looked really good this year. But USC's no joke either. I mean, they can put up a really good game against Washington, and and then at that point we got to look at a couple teams that may sneak in there. You're looking at like Louisville's, Ohio State's, those kind of people. Washington's the only team that I see in jeopardy in that top 4, and they just got to get past tonight.
Yeah, and the problem is I don't see a Wisconsin. I don't see an Ohio. And that's the other thing is, say Washington loses, I don't see an Ohio State being able to get there, even though I'd love to see Ohio State get there because, hey, Michigan and Ohio State, it's part of Americana. We'd love to see that in the national championship somehow. Won't happen because Ohio State's going to lose to Michigan. So they're going to be a 2-loss team. So I don't see them coming in. And quite frankly, because that game is so late in the year, I don't see Michigan. If Michigan were to lose to Ohio State, I think Michigan falls out of the top 4. So I just don't see a scenario unless somehow Louisville, Wisconsin, A&M, and Auburn all lose in the next 2 weeks. I just don't see it happening where you're going to get to have 2 teams from the same division in this top 4. The only chance we had was A&M bullshit squeaking through and getting the SEC to have 2 teams.
Yeah, totally fair point. And if they did make it, you said you wanted to see them in the championship against Michigan. I'd rather see them in the semifinal because the game I've been wanting to watch all year, and I think everybody wants to see, is Alabama against Michigan. It's it. We want to see Harbaugh and Saban. You want to see you want to see the 2 evil geniuses take each other on. John's Bulldogs got a little bit of a growl in them.
That's Joel. Apparently, we've got some new commentary.
Joel's Bulldogs are putting up a fight against Alabama. Just kicked a field goal with a growl. No, I agree. So who do you have? So I guess who shakes out? Where do you see right now in Week 11 with a few weeks to go? Who do you see as the Joel? Who do you have making the college football playoff right now? Doesn't matter what order. Just what are the top 4?
So I've got Bama, Michigan, Washington, and help me out here, Lou.
Clemson.
Yes, Clemson. Thank you.
So
I see those four.
I've got the same thing, and quite frankly, the order doesn't really matter. All the order 1 through 4 means is when do you lose to Alabama? Do you lose to them this week or do you lose to them next week? It doesn't really matter what the rankings are. So I have the same. I don't care what order you put those in. I mean, if you may put a gun to my head, I guess I would say Bama, Michigan, Clemson, Washington. But I just don't see. And you're right. I mean, hey, USC has pulled some upsets already this year. USC could come out. Then again, they looked miserable at the beginning of the year against Alabama. So against ranked teams, they haven't, or against highly ranked teams, they haven't been very good. Yeah, I'm just so pissed because my favorite thing in the world is college football controversy at the end of the year, talking about the rankings and, well, this quality of win over that quality of win, because it's so subjective. You know, it's so bullshit. Everybody has their own opinion kind of thing, and it can fill up sports talk for forever. Now I'm afraid we know 4 weeks before the end of the year, we know what it's going to shake out to be.
Yeah, and I may be totally wrong about this, but I can't remember in the last few years this many undefeated teams at this point that are making it this boring. Well, I mean, you got the top 4 are all undefeated.
The top 4 are all undefeated, and that's the thing. You've only got 2 1-loss teams, and you've got a whole bunch of 2-loss teams. Well, no, you do have 3. That's right, because I forgot West Virginia. West Virginia and Baylor both shit the bed for the Big 12. Good job. You had an outsider's chance of getting into the playoff anyways, and then you just totally fucked it up for your whole conference.
Just by being the one out of that conference, they had their shot. Just by doing that, but they couldn't even keep it together.
They couldn't put it together. Well, guys, final thoughts on UFC 205 tonight. What's your fight of the night, and what are you telling people to look forward to in this fight in this card?
Go ahead, John.
It's gonna be nuclear. All I can say.
It's gonna be tremendous.
Tremendous.
It's
wonderful.
Gonna be nuclear.
Okay, it's in Madison Square Garden. Oh, hold on. Madison Square Garden. Okay.
From Madison Square Garden.
This is 6 blocks away from Trump Tower. Is Donald Trump, that's what we close the show on, is Donald Trump at UFC 205 tonight? And if he is, what kind of reception does he get in front of a meathead UFC crowd?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I think you're going to have a mix just because, I mean, it's in New York City. So if you like, when he went to vote the other day, he was getting booed pretty heavily and jeered just from being in his town. They don't like him very much there. But just the kind of crowd that goes to the MMA fights, man, you never know. You got some guys coming down from Buffalo and all that. There might be some Trump fans up there.
Wow, way to throw some shade at John. Look at that.
But no, man, he's not showing up at UFC.
You don't think
No
he
way.
is, John? What do you
No
think?
way.
You think there's any way he could show up? It's the first ever UFC. It's the biggest card of all time, and it's in Madison Square Garden. Come on, man. That's what does he have to do? He's already put out his 100-day plan, and he doesn't start that shit for another 2 months. So I mean, come on. What else does he have to do?
He's at home Googling what does the president do.
No, he's at home putting out on Monster.com. He position open, Secretary of State, no experience needed.
I think there's actually a more important question that we need to ask.
Yeah.
And I think it's the question that we're all going to be living with for time immemorial.
Yes.
And it goes as this. Is Joe Flacco elite?
God, I hate you so much, John.
No.
It's not even the question if he is. It's not even whether he is or isn't. It's just I don't want the conversation going on anymore. I hate it so much. He beat the Browns. Shut the fuck up, Skip. It's the Browns, okay? Alabama could beat the Browns.
I tell you though, Lou, you nailed it. He does look like Joe Biden with Downs. Young Joe Biden.
I never said that on this show. I never said that out loud on this show. Ever.
That's the crooked media talking
that's
there.
it's all rigged. This whole thing is
all
rigged. Is what it
Show's
is.
rigged.
John, is there any way that Donald Trump shows up at UFC 205 tonight?
No, I don't think he shows up at all.
I mean, look, you
not that
also
cool,
you
man.
also said there's no way he was going to win the election. Rumors circulating on YahooSports.com from Kevin Ull. Will President-elect Donald Trump be at UFC 205 in New York tonight?
It would make it even more of the absolute spectacle it's already going to be.
That's the
so
thing.
It would be absolutely amazing if that occurred.
It fits right there. Hey, Trump went to Hamilton last night. You say, there's going to be protesters. He went to Hamilton last night. That's Broadway. That's as frou-frou, liberal, super blue Hillary as you get. I mean, what?
He's done the WrestleMania stuff too, so I mean, he would be able to fit right in with those crowds.
Dana White tells TMZ Saturday morning that Donald Trump may be showing up at UFC 205 tonight. Donald
started this as a completely comedic
I started this as a total joke. Now, if it doesn't happen, I will be devastated. I will be absolutely devastated if this doesn't happen.
I did forget Dana White did say, didn't he speak? Yeah, he spoke at like a Trump rally.
He spoke at the RNC, didn't he? Wasn't he the one who introduced Trump at the RNC?
Yeah, it was the RNC.
Is that what it is?
Holy
or
shit.
was it Dana White who did that? Or yeah, it was. It was Dana White who did that, wasn't it?
Rick from the Pawn Stars also did.
They look a lot alike. His art.
Yeah. I'm guessing he got him about $20.
Yeah.
But yeah, I forgot about Dana
So you've
White
got a political
being on
party,
the
huh?
Trump team.
I'll give you about $12 for it. I think that's fair. Guys, Dana White telling TMZ he may be showing up tonight. Now, I get it. Dana White's job is to sell UFC cards. I get that. If it happens, it will. If this people, you gotta buy UFC 205 now. You gotta buy it. Does the president-elect show up? Yes, that would be amazing. And if Conor McGregor. If Conor McGregor knocks him out, does Donald Trump get in the ring, get in the octagon with Conor McGregor and put the waist around his belt the way Dana does? That would be amazing. That would be the best thing ever.
God, man, I don't even know what Conor McGregor would say. I was just thinking, like, man, I'd love to hear somebody ask Conor McGregor something about Donald Trump just to hear some of the Irish trash talk, and Trump wouldn't. I'd love to hear those guys go back and forth for a few minutes, to be honest with you. That would be fantastic.
Wrong.
I've got all the best belts.
Wrong.
I'll bounce that belt off your fucking head. I'll bounce this belt off your fucking head.
Oh my God, this would be this would be incredible. This needs to happen. I am saying it right now. Donald Trump, you know, everybody's saying give the guy a chance. I'm telling you two, give the guy a chance to show up at UFC 205 tonight. Give him a chance to show up. I think that would be glorious. I think that would be incredible. I think that'd be a great way to kick off his presidency. To just because of all the spectacle and ridiculousness that the election was and everything, this would just be the great way to top it off. Would be him showing up at a place where people are violently beating one another to death. I think would just be perfectly succinct. But guys, thanks so much for being here, everybody out there. Be sure to share this, tweet it, like it, comment, do all the things, all the thingies that Jake tells you to do on his show, all that stuff. Images, click here, click my hands to do subscribe or give us $12 or something. I don't know. For Joel and John, thanks guys so much for being with us, and come back and see what we have to say on Tuesday. We will probably be doing a small OT with at least the three of us talking about UFC 205.
Yeah.